What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So it looks like the Senate has come to an agreement. So Democrats and Republicans have come to an agreement. So it looks like the shutdown will be no longer. Well, at least for right now. We're going to have to wait to see what the House is going to do. But if the House votes for this clean resolution, we don't know what stipulations will be in the House or if there'll be any stipulations, if it'll just be a clean continuing a resolution. If that is the case, then the government will open back up. And so I want to talk a little bit about the Senate and the implications in the future. So we're talking about the 2026 midterm election. I like to focus on that, but the things that are going on today can impact the 2026 or will impact the 2026 midterm. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in this video. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video. And if you're watching this video and you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. Okay, so first off, how do I feel about the Senate coming to this agreement? I have mixed feelings about this. I think that we need to open the government up. So I'm all for that. People need to be able to go back to work and start. Some people have been working this whole time, but they need to get their paychecks. So I'm all on board for that. And the people that were on furlough, they will be able to go back to work. Some of them, I believe they basically laid them off. And so part of the agreement was for them to hire them back so they'll be able to work. And so that I feel good about. However, the whole situation with Democrats, look, if you start a race, finish it. And they didn't finish the race because this whole negotiation, they didn't really get anything out of it. They got a promise. They got a promise to take up HCA. That's all they got. And that's just in the Senate. And so what you need to understand, you have two chambers. You have the House and you have the Senate. So just because the Senate takes something up doesn't mean anything in the House. And so we'll see what happens to the House. The House does need to vote again when it comes to opening back up the government. And so we'll see what they're talking about. But Democrats, if you're going to start it, you need to at least get something out of it. You need to finish it. You need to fight. And I just didn't see that. I was listening to the senators, and let me show you real quick because I have the senators. Okay, so here are the senators that voted for this continuing resolution. And I believe they're going to take it back up in 3 months. I think that's what they said. So in January's time. But nonetheless, we'll look at him. So you have Angus King. He's an independent, but he does caucus with the Democrats. You have Tim Kaine. You have Fetterman. You have Hassan. You have Shaheen. You have Cortez Masto. You have Rosen. And then you have Dick Durbin. And so those are the Democratic senators that went with the Republicans to go ahead and move forward. It was actually a procedural vote, just so you guys understand. You have the procedural vote first, and then now they can vote to open the government up. Voting to open up the government, I believe they only need a majority. But to get past that procedural vote, they needed the 60 votes. So to make it filibuster proof. So that's what we were waiting on, and that's why we were looking at a government shutdown for all this time. But with Democrats, look, if you're going to start it, because we didn't even have to have a government shutdown. You could have just negotiated prior to the shutdown with Thune, with the majority leader, and said, hey, do you promise that we will take up HCA? That's all you needed. And I'm sure he probably would have promised, okay, we can talk about it and we'll bring it to a vote. But you go in and you have this government shutdown. And so now a lot of people were displaced from work and people weren't getting paid. And then at the very end, you come out with nothing. You come out with a promise. And the problem with that promise, and I talked about this, but I'm going to say it again because this is very important. Let's say they take it up in the Senate. Two things can happen. They take it up in the Senate, they bring it to the floor, they vote on it, they vote it down. Whatever they're talking about when it comes to HCA, extending it out or what have you. So they vote on it, it fails. That's one scenario. The other scenario is they vote on it and it passes, but now it has to get through the House. And there's no guarantee that the House will bring it to the floor because Speaker Johnson has the power to bring it to the floor. And so if he doesn't bring it to the floor and they can't get a discharge petition, then it goes nowhere. And so now you have a situation where there's no guarantee that they're even going to address this when it comes to HCA. And another thing that you need to think about, the minority leader, Schumer. Okay, now Schumer wasn't on this list, you saw. So he's the leadership. He wasn't on this list. So he didn't agree with the moving forward with this procedural vote that they had. And so you did have a split with Democrats. The majority of Democrats didn't vote for this procedural vote, but you had those 8, and that's all Republicans needed. They just needed to get to that 60 votes, and they got to the 60 votes. So you had Schumer, the minority leader, say, look, why don't we extend the HCA credits for another year and then we'll take it up next year? That sounds fair to me. And if you're negotiating with someone in good faith and they tell you, okay, you know what? We want to address HCA. We want to address the credits. Then why not extend it out for another year? But Republicans in the Senate, they didn't want to do that. And that should tell you everything you need to know. Because by them saying that they don't want to extend it out for another year, do you think they're going to vote for, let's say, they bring it to the floor in the Senate and they have, they want to extend out credits for another 2-3 years. Do you think they're going to be in favor of that? Republicans will not be in favor of that. And so this vote will most likely not even pass the Senate. And so all these Democrats are getting, the 8 Democrats that went ahead and voted for this, they're just getting a promise. And that promise is probably, it'll happen, but it'll be a failure. And so that is the problem with this. If you're going to start the race and if you're ahead in the race, you have to understand President Trump was putting pressure on Republican senators saying, look, we need to end the filibuster. That should tell you everything you need to know. If you have President Trump out there saying, look, you guys need to handle this, the pressure was on the Republicans. And when you look at the polls, Republicans were hurting the most from the government shutdown. Why? Because they control the Senate, they control the House, and they control the presidency. But now you have these 8 Democrats that stepped up and said, okay, well, yeah, we'll go along with the Republicans. So now guess what? Some of that blame is going to be shifted onto the Democrats. And Republicans will play that and say, look, we told you we were right. That's why these Democrats came on board, because they knew we were right. And so this is one of those situations. Look, if you're going to start, you need to finish. And that's the problem. Okay, now it's not all Democrats. You have in the House, I already heard the leadership in the House is very upset with the fact that these senators went ahead and moved forward. And so for me, it just doesn't make sense. Now you did have, I think it was like 5 Democratic senators that did vote for the initial one right before the government shutdown. They did vote for the clean continuing resolution. So they did that up front and they were able to gain another 3 votes. And that's what they needed in order to put them over the top with this. And so I just think, with leadership, with Schumer, and you're already hearing people calling for Schumer to step down and replace the minority leader with someone else. But you need to have strong leaders. You do need to have a strong leader that can get everybody together and say, look, we need to hold firm. And this is the ultimate goal that we're trying to reach. Because you have senators going back and forth, Democratic senators going back and forth. And I listened to their press conference and it was pretty embarrassing. Because all they were saying is, look, Republicans, they weren't going to budge. They weren't going to budge, and so that's why we went ahead and moved forward. They weren't going to budge. That's what they said. But all these Democrats had to do is look at the polling, because the polling was showing that the people were on their side, the majority of the people were on their side, and then just look at President Trump going after the senators and saying, look, we need to end the filibuster. Now, whether you agree with ending the filibuster or not, President Trump was putting pressure on Senator Thune, the majority leader, to do something to end this government shutdown, because President Trump knows that this was hurting the Republicans. And so we'll have to see in the next couple of days. The House will take this up. They'll go ahead and vote and move forward. It is good news that people will be able to start getting paid again and the government will open back up. Okay, so now let's talk about the 2026 midterms. Okay, it's right around the corner. How is this going to impact the 2026 midterms? Well, there are a lot of people out there, and let's start from here. One of the criticisms of Democrats is they don't fight. They don't fight hard enough. And one thing about Trump, whether you like President Trump or you don't like President Trump, he's a fighter. He will fight, right? He will continue to fight. Even when he's losing, he's going to continue to still fight. But Democrats, they're not known for that. And they'll be in a situation where they're winning the race, like in this situation with the government shutdown, they're winning the race, but they say, oh, you know what, we're going to slow down and we'll go ahead and work with you, when they have the cards on their side. And so in the 2026 midterms, voters look at this and they say, you know what? We want people that are going to fight for us. And there are people right now looking to enroll or looking to re-enroll in HCA, in Obamacare. And they're seeing their premiums are going to be doubling or tripling. And Democrats, instead of coming together and uniting like they were doing prior to this, now there's a break and they're saying, okay, well, we're going to promise to talk about it in the future. Well, that promise is just that. It's a promise. So if it doesn't happen, if it doesn't go through, if the Senate doesn't pass it and the House doesn't pass it and these HCA credits aren't extended, then guess what? People are going to look at Democrats and say they're not only going to look at Republicans, because they will look at Republicans too, but they're going to look at Democrats and say, why didn't you keep fighting? Because if you kept fighting, maybe we could have got an extension for another year and we could have discussed it next year. And so that's what the voters want. They want someone to fight. And if you have politicians that are not willing to fight, they're not representing you. You want, just like if you have an attorney, you want that attorney to fight for you as hard as, as passionate as possible. And politicians are the same way. You want them to be able to fight for you. And so I do think this is going to hurt. It might hurt some of the Senate races that we're looking at now. And for the people who are running in the Senate right now, running for re-election or running to unseat the incumbents, that needs to be your message. It needs to be affordability. It needs to be about the economy. And you need to convince the American people that you are there to fight. If you can't do that, you're probably not going to win. You need to be able to convince them of that. And looking at the press conference that the Democrats put out there, they weren't fighting. They were giving up. And they weren't ashamed of telling you they were giving up. Well, look, they weren't going to do anything, so we just decided to go ahead and do something. We're doing it for the American people is what they're saying. But you are part of the reason why they're in a government shutdown now. So we didn't even have to get to the government shutdown if you were just going to say, well, let's just get a promise and we'll talk about it in the future. I want to know what you guys think. So let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. So that's all we have for this video. Make sure if you guys want to send me an email, you can do that, david@thetecshow.com. Like the video, subscribe for more, and check out these videos over here for some more great content. Talk to you later. Bye.